Good evening and welcome to Moscow. 6 months after one of the most gripping IFSC speed seasons of all time, we are underway with the next one here in the capital of the Russian Federation. I'm Charlie Bosco, very pleased to say that as I have been on many occasions in front of the speed wall, I'm joined by Josh Levin. Josh, you climbed today, personal best for you, congratulations.
Thanks so much.
What were conditions like? What was the standard like compared to previous seasons?
I felt pretty good today. The holds and the wall feel really nice. The Russian Federation always puts on a really good show for speed, especially. And so tonight we're going to expect to see a lot of really fast times, hopefully get really close to that world record tonight.
Yeah, one thing we should point out is sadly the wall hasn't been certified for world records, so no matter if we do get a faster time than the official world record, it won't be broken tonight. Something of a shame, but as you said, we're expecting some faster times. One of the big casualties from the round missed out by 0.006 of a second. In 17th place, one outside the finals, Martin Zienski. And why is someone like that, who a couple of years ago really dominated the sport, why is he now struggling to make finals? It's not the first time.
Yeah, I mean, the level of competition this year is just at such a high level, especially with the Olympics coming up. And, you know, we've seen a couple of really big changes. First one off the bat is the fact that, you know, with the Olympics coming up, we're having a lot more people getting at a high level, especially in speed climbing, people really specializing in that. But at the same time, another thing we'll see for this competition specifically is that big change for the 2019 season is that there's only going to be 5 athletes per country allowed at a World Cup as opposed to 6 in past years. So that'll change things a little bit. But then, of course, you know, the athletes are just stepping it up to a whole other level to prepare for Tokyo next year.
And here are the 16 women who will be competing. As ever, we've got 16 men and 16 women. They'll then progress to the quarterfinals. There'll be 8, then 4, and we end up with a small final to decide the bronze medal and a big final to decide silver and gold. So that's the women's lineup. Few interesting names, few surprises, I should add. But we'll discuss more in a second. And there are the men. As we just mentioned, Martin Zienski not in that lineup. He was 17th. Heartbreaking, but narrowly misses out. Here's the men's one. Excuse me, I think we showed you the women's one twice. Here is the men's starting list. The names will be familiar, and the names who dominated last season seem to already be off to a good start in 2019. Yeah, the last final of 2018, we were in Xiamen on the South China Sea, and there were 4 men going into that final who could have won the overall title. As it was Bassa Mawem who kept his head and got the job done, and he went very, very well in qualifying today. Josh, anyone else really stand out for you? Anyone we should keep an eye on?
Yes, for sure. The top competitors from last year are all here. We have Rezeli Pershena and Bassa Mawem, obviously. We're going to get rid of the women's competition, but in the men's, one name to look out for is Cao Long. He's currently sitting in 2nd place and is a former youth competitor. This is his first World Cup, as far as I'm aware, and he is one of a dark horse, I would say. Again, he's in 2nd place, really good position, but again, we're going to go right into the women's competition here, see how things shake up.
Yes, out first, Yulia Koplina looking very, very strong in the qualifiers. 7.464 for her. She's taking on Andrea Roca of Ecuador. Shade over 8.5 seconds in the qualifiers for her. So it's the legend of the game, Yulia Koplina on the left, the clear favourite against Andrea Roca. Both away cleanly. Remember, no false starts allowed, but they're both underway in regulation time, and it's Koplina who takes it quick time, 7.72.
Yeah, nice clean race from both athletes. They both looked really strong. Again, this is not, you know, they're not really pushing world record pace right now, but they don't have to, especially since this is the round of 16. So I think we'll start seeing faster and faster times as the competition wears on.
7.72, yeah, as Josh says, it's not pushing that world record time. Koplina is the joint world record holder along with Anouk Jobert, both on 7.32. But we know she can go faster. Exactly 0.4 of a second slower than her own shared world record. So, 2 Russian climbers, won't be the last time we say that this evening, and Maria Krasavina and Elizaveta Ivanova. Both came through with an 8.1. It was an 8.102 for Krasavina, 8.130 for Ivanova. So it's Krasavina on the left and Ivanova on the right. Krasavina just rocked back, but somehow didn't get the fastest start, and she's being left behind in the middle section as well, and Ivanova's opened up a decent lead that I think she will hang on to. She will. She takes it in 7.99. Unusually sluggish performance from Maria Kasavina. She's been going well in recent seasons.
Yes, I agree. This was a big upset. Even though technically this is only the 8-9 matchup, this was actually a huge upset considering how consistent Maria Krasavina has been in the past. She's almost always been in the top 4 on the podium many times. Very consistent competitor. So I'm sure she'll have another competition coming up pretty soon where she can retake that lead, come back, have a better result hopefully.
Out next, Yiling Song of China and Aurelia Saracen of France. Saracen had a decent 2018, looking to build on it this year. As Josh mentioned, you've got a very exciting Chinese speed climber on the men's side. In Yiling Song looking pretty handy herself. 7.880 for her in the qualifiers. Saracen slightly off the pace she's capable of. 8.462 for her earlier on today when we had the qualifiers. So it's Song on the left and Saracen on the right. And Saracen a bit sluggish out the blocks. If she wants to win this one, she's going to have to work hard, but she's not showing any sign of catching up. And she is beaten in 7.66. Yiling Song. Quick time, quickest one we've seen.
Yeah, the replay of this run is right off the bat. Yiling Song actually at the very beginning, she did a move that is now being called the Tomoa skip. This is something that we're going to see throughout the rest of the evening as well. It's something that Japanese climber Tomoa Narasaki pioneered right near the end of the bouldering season last year. He debuted it at the Asian Games, which are in Jakarta, Indonesia. And since then, people have been really adapting to it. A lot of the, especially combined competitors, have really adopted this new style of start that we're going to see from a lot of competitors tonight. So really great to see that it's able to be used by both male and female competitors alike. And I'm really curious to see who else is going to be adapting to this new beta at the beginning of the climb.
Next two climbers on the wall, Mingwei Ni on the left of China, Alexandra Kaluchka of Poland on the right. About half a second between these two in the qualifiers, and it was Ni who was faster in the qualifiers, but she's not faster in this final so far. Slipped pretty much on the first foothold, and Kaluchka should take this at a canter, and does. 8.63.
Definitely an unfortunate slip from the Chinese athlete on the left, but Alexandra Kaluchka really smooth. She knew she was in the lead, so all she had to do is make sure that she hit all her footholds. Didn't have to worry about anything else. Get to the top, get that time.
It's one of the unusual elements of speed climbing is that you have direct competition. There's someone next to you. Is there anything you can do to not be distracted by the person next to you?
Yeah, so especially because this is a head-to-head racing format, it changes the dynamic of how you view, your own climb, because it's not necessarily about doing the best that you can do, which of course is always what you want to do as an athlete, but the most important, competitive element in this format is going faster than the person you're racing against. So psychologically, when you see that person out of your peripheral vision and you see how fast they're going, where they are compared to you on the wall, it changes how emotionally you're responding to that moment. So being able to respond to that moment, making sure you're not making mistakes and being calm, cool, collected, getting the top, getting that time, that's the most important part.
Aries Sazanti Raheu now, what a season she had in 2018. She's taking on Katerina Barashuk of Russia. Russia well represented, but Indonesia as well. They are a real speed climbing nation, and you can see why. Aries Sazanti Raheu takes it in 7.79. It's been amazing over the past couple of years to see their emergence. Indonesia.
Absolutely. Yeah, we saw it at the beginning of the 2018 speed season. They were just absolutely dominant here 1 year ago. And unfortunately, they aren't able to have quite as many representatives here this year, especially with the minimization down to 5 and countries changing the way that they're choosing athletes for these competitions based on overall combined results. But we still, it's awesome to see the specialists here really doing what they do, especially from countries that are speed strong like Russia, China, Indonesia.
Speaking of specialists, although I should add that she's been looking increasingly strong on the bouldering wall, but known primarily as a speed climber, Anouk Jobert didn't have her best day in the qualifiers.
That's okay. All that matters is she's in the finals,
Exactly.
And if she wins 4 races, she becomes World Cup champion.
But if she's in a position we wouldn't normally expect to see her, so if you're just tuning in, you're wondering why we're seeing Anouk Jobert kind of in the middle. That's why. Not her strongest qualifying session ever, but as Josh rightly says, 8.024, not too shabby either, and enough to see her through to take on Anna Brozek, who's on the right-hand lane. So Jobert, a real force in speed climbing over the past couple of seasons, a clear favourite here. Didn't quite look herself in the qualifiers, but does plenty to get through. 8.37, in all honesty, didn't have to work too hard for it. Brozek had a couple of slips, couple of stumbles, really lost momentum. And I think we were just talking about how much attention you pay to your opponent. I think Jobert was well aware that she had an unopposed run to the line there.
Yeah, and you can see her right there. She's kind of reprimanding herself just a little bit for having that minor slip at the top, but she knows that she can do really clean runs. She's been consistently one of the most consistent athletes on the circuit. She really knows how to do exactly what her style is and make sure her run's clean for, all the way deep into the last final race when you're racing for that gold medal at a World Cup.
Here's Elena Romanova closest to the camera. Penultimate Russian climber in this women's round of 16. She's taking on Anna Kalanka of Italy. If that name sounds familiar, and she looks particularly familiar against this Moscow wall, it's because she was second here in last August Youth World Championships, Kalanka. This is her first ever World Cup, and she came through at 8.544 to 7.860 for Romanova. So Romanova you would expect to be the favourite, but she was making slightly heavy weather of it low down, but took a lead and hung on to it. 8.15, not anything like her run in the qualifiers, but enough.
Yeah, really great race from both athletes. That's one of the closer ones we've seen so far in this round of 16. And you can see the Russian athlete on the left. She has a really great run at the finish, but she also used the Tomoa skip at the very beginning of the wall. So that's something, again, that we're seeing more and more of. Great camaraderie from both athletes, but we're getting to see a lot of different beta emerging from all the sorts of different athletes throughout this competition.
So somehow we're at the last race of this round of 16 here in Moscow. Anna Tsiganova came through as just under 8 seconds, 7.999. She's taking on Patricia Chudziak of Poland, 8.395. Tsiganova, a legend of the game, and something of an all-round athlete as well. Had some decent results bouldering in the past couple of years. Their home country, taking on Chudziak of Poland. So it's Tsiganova on the left, Chudziak on the right. Tsiganova just rocked back, but it didn't seem to help her start much. Chudziak looked a bit faster in the lower section, but Tsiganova's reeled her in and opened up a small lead, which she hangs on to. Takes it in 8.03.
Great race from both athletes there. Again, Anna Tsiganova, one of the strongest speed athletes we have in the circuit. She's been a world champion before in this discipline, and she's a great all-around athlete. Definitely a good candidate for qualifying for Tokyo Olympics next year. And great to see her back through the round of 8.
Yeah, it's been one of the interesting features of speed climbing in recent years, but particularly here in Moscow today in the qualifiers. We're seeing more and more climbers with Tokyo 2020 Olympics in mind. I never thought I would see Alex Megos speed climbing.
Absolutely.
But it's amazing how things change.
Yeah, one of the cool stories from this past year has been Adam Ondra coming back into the circuit, because for a long time I think he was deciding for himself whether he wanted to do the Olympics or not. But with that, the combined format of lead bouldering and speed climbing requires athletes, if they want to compete, to be proficient in speed climbing as well. So it's something that he's, been very spoken about, how he's learning it. He's not necessarily the fastest speed athlete out there on the circuit right now, but he's definitely excited and passionate about trying to become the best all-around athlete and competitor that he is. And seeing him come onto the circuit last year and actually, train speed, give it, a real conviction, and be able to come back out and make podium at the World Championships in Innsbruck was really exciting.
Yeah, that was a pretty exciting day. Hard to believe it was almost 7 months ago, and we're at the start of another big season at the IFSC, and the seasons just get bigger and bigger with Tokyo looming next year. Bassamar Wem now of France, last year's overall World Cup champion, as I said, an extraordinary finals in Xiamen last year. He's taking on Gianluca Zodda, who had the best result of his career right here in Moscow in August last year, became youth world champion. So a heavyweight race to start out with Basser on the left, and Gianluca Zodda on the right, and looked like Basser is going to take it. He is in a very quick time, 5.79. Didn't mess about, Basser.
Yeah, very smooth athlete from France here on the left. He is one of the top athletes in speed climbing. We're just waiting until he breaks that world record, which again is set at 5.48 seconds by Reza Alporshena. A great camaraderie we're seeing as well. But again, one of the things to note is that even though, again, we're seeing the time being displayed on your screen at 2 decimal places, ties actually can be broken up to 1,000th of a second, which is, again, the last race we had Gianluca Zotta. He had a qualifying time of 6.23 seconds, and Martin Jasinski, yeah, he was in 17th place with 6.236, I believe. So 6,000ths of a second separated Martin Jasinski, 2016 world champion, from making this final.
Amir Murmurutov of Kazakhstan on the left. He's taking on Alexander Shikov. Both of them a shade over 6 seconds, 6.08 for the Kazakhstani and 6.09 for the Russian earlier on today, but it's the Russian who's got the lead in this round, and he takes it in 5.89. Very quick, clean run.
Yeah, really close race from both athletes again, and we can, again, really hear whenever the Russian athletes come onto the stage, the crowd really gets behind them. So I think as a home country athlete, you really like to hear the crowd getting excited for when you race, and it definitely gives you a little bit more emotional energy to get you up that wall as fast as you possibly can.
There's always a buzz when the next climber comes out. They're both of the next climbers, really. Two legends of the game, Reza Alipour, Shayna Zandifar, and Stanislav Kokorin. Reza carrying a bit more in the hair department than he was last year. Doesn't seem to have affected his speed too much at 5.826 in the qualifiers. I mean, all things are relative, but I have to say he looks slightly leaner this year.
We'll see. But yeah, Reza again is our champion at this event 1 year ago, and also the current world record holder at 5.48 seconds.
Yeah, he won that world championship last year in Innsbruck. It clearly meant a lot to him. Very emotional interview I did with him on the stage. Here he is now on the left, taking on Stanislav Kokorin, one of the most popular and successful speed climbers of all time. This is a heavyweight race, make no doubt about it, but it's Reza who takes it. 5.92, exactly a tenth of a second slower than he was in the previous round. He looks up for this one.
That was a great race by Reza. Also a great race by Kokorin. One of the things that Kokorin has done this year, actually, is he's finally done the one-handed dyno you just saw on your screen on the right. This is something that he has been a holdout for, I would say, for many, many years. He's always kind of stuck with his two-handed beta and been really, really incredibly fast with it, including winning the bronze medal at the World Championships last year in Innsbruck. But this is something that he has actually changed, and it's a big deal for Kokorin, again, who's someone who's been on the World Cup circuit for speed climbing for many, many years, and finally looking to adapt some of his strategy for this upcoming season.
Here's Aspar Jayalolo, sporting the newly bleached blonde hair, closest to the camera, taking on Georgy Artemonov of Russia.
Aspar Jayalolo, again, one of those speed specialists who's also trying his hand in bouldering. He competed last weekend in Meiringen, and I believe is competing here as well.
So Jayalolo of Indonesia on the left, Artemonov of Russia on the right. Quite different starting positions. We might talk about that in a second, but for now we'll focus on the race. It's Jayalolo who's got a very small lead. Had to work hard after that stumble at the top, but took it 6.78. Looked like he was cruising to victory. Perhaps distracted, just as Artemonov slipped. Let's have another look.
That was a super close race.
So where was the slip? It was there.
It was a slip with the left hand. Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat common. The last left-hand hold is a pinch if you grab it low. It's better up high if you're left-hand, but the risk for doing it low, even though your hands are closer to the same elevation, is that because it's a pinch and because if a lot of people have done this climb, the friction on that hold can sometimes get a little bit slippery. So we'll see how it plays out for the rest of the competition.
Now, this is a man we were discussing earlier. Cao Long of China takes on Jan Kriz of the Czech Republic, a veteran. Cao anything but. This is his first World Cup for the young man from Beijing. Came through with a 5.731 to 6.222 from Kriz. China against Czech Republic. Again, unusual starting position from Cao, but it doesn't seem to affect him. The spotlight can barely keep up. 5.79, absolutely blistering. 600ths of a second slower than he was in the qualifiers.
Yeah, incredible run for Cao. He is, again, one of those really young youth athletes. He's 19 years old out of Beijing. Very good speed specialist. And again, usually at World Cup Series, we see a lot of really strong Chinese athletes in the speed final. But again, with the Olympic format approaching, we're seeing a lot more combined athletes competing in speed climbing, so maybe not in the final. But Cao Long is the only speed specialist they have here at this event, and he's just showing how dominant he is at this discipline.
You can tell Yufei Pan, another Chinese star, been working on his speed climb as well in the qualifiers.
Absolutely. Pan Yufei, super strong athlete overall. Is definitely a favorite for the Tokyo Olympics. He, again, one of our athletes that did not make this final round, but is someone definitely to look out for qualifying for Tokyo. He was one of our stars at the Buenos Aires Youth Olympic Games last year, and it's going to be really cool to see just which countries, which athletes are going to be able to master this combined format for the Olympics.
Dmitry Timofeev of Russia now takes on his compatriot Lev Rudatsky. Timofeev, a real star of the sport and the favourite in this one, but it's Rudatsky who got a better start, but he couldn't hang on to his advantage. 5.92, enough to see Timofeev through.
Yeah, great race from both athletes again. You saw the crowd getting really behind them. It's always great to have home country really supportive of the athletes here. And again, with both athletes putting up phenomenal times in qualification, you have to wonder like how much pressure they put on themselves to go as fast as they can in this elimination format.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the times required to get through, you had to be, we discussed it earlier, 6.230 to get through. You can't really leave anything in the tank. Maybe the top 5 or 6 athletes can just skim a tiny bit of speed off and get through a round, but barely.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more times in this guys competition that are in the 5 seconds, especially in this first round, where usually, again, you don't have to go quite as quick, but with the times being so low overall, the amount of people that have to really step up and put on one of their close to their personal best times is quite high.
Sergei Rukin now, he's on the left, 5.809 to get him through the qualifiers compared to his opponent and compatriot Shilov, 6.207. So it's Shilov on the right, Rukin on the left, and it's very close to the middle section. This is going to be one of our tightest races yet. And it's Rukin who takes it by 1600ths of a second, 5.90.
Yeah, that was a really close race again. And what the coolest part as a climber and a spectator is just how different these guys' betas are, especially at the bottom and up to this middle section. Both athletes have very different climbing styles, and you saw slightly different beta at the bottom and through the last 5 meters of the climb, where they had completely different beta but ended up getting the wall almost at the exact same time. So again, with speed climbing, it's really exciting to see different changes in strategy, different changes in beta, and seeing how quickly the sport is evolving just as the climbers get faster, the beta evolves faster, and especially competitors from the combined start trying out different ways of doing it, because that's what we're really seeing, the new betas that are emerging coming from combined athletes.
Vladislav Dolin now on the left of Russia, taking on Ludovico Fasali. Both World Cup winners. Dolin, the overall champion in 2017, the year that Fasali claimed his one and, as it stands, only World Cup victory in Edinburgh. Both off quickly. There were some beeps going around the venue. I wondered if we might have a problem. We don't have a problem. Vladislav Dolin certainly doesn't have a problem. He's through in 6.02. Didn't need to go quite as quickly as it did in the qualifiers. He's done enough to progress. Josh, I wanted to ask you about starting positions. We've seen some of the climbers pretty much side onto the wall, the right hip, it looks from here almost touching, other climbers almost head on. What's the difference and the advantages of both?
There's really different, it's all comes down to personal preference for each of the athletes. There's definitely differences based on height, clearly, because the taller you are, the more of the different holds you're able to grab, the more bent your arms can be before you even pull off the ground. And again, with speed climbing, if you watch the athletes, almost never any of these speed athletes' arms completely straight, because you want to be able to engage like the upper part of your pulling muscles as much as possible. And with the starting positions, like it really depends on whether you prefer to be further to the right of the wall or straight onto the wall. And of course, the first couple of moves you do, is we've mentioned different types of beta. We've seen the Reza skip that he was pioneering in 2017, Tomoa skip which was pioneered this past year. And of course, there's other different betas you can do as well at the beginning. But I think height and personal beta really dictate a lot about how you're going to be able to pull onto the wall at the very start.
Fascinating, the micro differences that make all the difference in the end. Yulia Kaplina now in our first round of 8, taking on Elizaveta Ivanova, her compatriot. Both under 8 seconds in the previous round. Both capable of going even quicker. So Kaplina on the left, the likely favourite against Ivanova, but anything can happen in speed climbing, and it usually does. Kaplina off to a decent start, but being made to work hard for this one. I think she will take it, she will. But 7.56 quick time, and 7.79 for her opponent, neither of them messing around.
That was a really close race again. No slips, no stumbles from either athlete. And again, they both want to be in this top 4. And of course, that's how close the margin is. You have to be at the top of your game when the lights are shining the brightest. And this is it for both of these athletes, especially being in their home country of Russia. The lights are on, the crowd is cheering for them, and it's really exciting to see them really put on a great show here in front of this awesome crowd.
Yiling Song now closest to our camera. She'll be on the left against Alexandra Kaluchka. Kaluchka winner in Chamonix last year. One of the great IFSC venues. We are back there in July. So much to come this season. We're going all the way through to the end of November in Toulouse, so stay tuned. You've got a full summer, spring, summer and autumn of entertainment. For now, it's all about the next 6 seconds or so, and as it stands, it's all about Yiling Song. She's got a half a body length lead that's turned into a very big lead, and she will take it in 7.72. Again, pretty quick time. She's into the final 4.
Yeah, Yiling Song looked really comfortable there. She had a really good lead at the beginning. This is actually one of the former races, but again, Yiling Song with a really strong lead at the beginning was able to kind of coast in at the end, not having to worry about pushing it as hard as she possibly could. You saw that she didn't have to exactly step on the gas, so she was able to calm down a little bit, make sure she wasn't making any mistakes, and make sure she hit that buzzer at the top of the wall.
So next up, it's going to be a heavyweight race. Aries Tazansi-Reheu on the left against Anouk Jobert on the right. Both of these genuine contenders for the win here in Moscow. One of them is going to be eliminated in this round of 8.
Wow, this is a huge matchup. And again, you know, both these women capable of breaking world records. We saw Anouk Jobert exactly 1 year ago match the world record on this wall. And again, Aries Tazansi-Reheu, Asian Games champion, one of the top athletes from Indonesia. You know, she's definitely someone to look out for. And both athletes, again, it could be anyone's game.
This could be anyone's. One of them is going to be knocked out early on by their standards in the competition. Jobert got an absolutely flying start, and Reheu's got real work to do if she wants to catch her. Jobert in the lead, Jobert the winner, 7.8 flat.
Wow.
It was Aries Tazansi-Reheu didn't look quite herself in the didn't look anything like the climb we saw in the previous rounds. Unusual one.
Yeah, well, I think here's a kind of the psychological thing that happens. When you are ranked higher, and again, Aries Tazansi-Reheu was ranked higher from qualification. She's on the left-hand side, which is where the person who is, again, usually ranked higher climbs. You have a little bit more pressure because you know that, in theory, you have a faster time, and you have a little bit more to lose, I would suppose. And so, as the underdog, as the person on the right side of the wall usually, the amount of pressure you have on yourself is a little bit lower, just because you know that, you know, if you put your best show up, like, you know, hopefully be able to make it on, but you never know. And so I think as the favorite, there's a little more pressure, a little bit more pressure again to make that one mistake that could eventually, you know, send you off the wall, send you home.
One of these climbers is going to go home. Russia are going to lose one of Elena Romanova, who will be on the left, and Anna Tsiganova on the right. It was Romanova who got the better start, but then stumbled and compounded it with another stumble, and Tsiganova should cruise to victory. She does 7.83, her quickest time so far on the Moscow speed wall. She's capable of going even quicker, and she is through to the final 4. Anna Tsiganova takes it.
Yeah, and that's what we're really seeing. Like, Anna Tsiganova, she's, again, one of the most consistent and strongest athletes on the circuit. She's really proving, again, why she was world champion. And one of the things, again, that matters the most in this kind of format is consistency. So you could be the best climber in the world and have the fastest run and have the world record, but if you're not able to be consistent through 4 grueling rounds of single round elimination, then, you know, that's all the thing that is going to matter when it comes down to this type of competition.
So here in the quarterfinals, 8 men, and interesting stat for you, only 2 of them were over 6 seconds in the previous round of 16. So blisteringly quick times, and Vladislav Dolin was only just over at 6.02, so very fast times coming through. The average time in speed climbing absolutely plummeting year on year, not only from the top climbers, but also the non-specialists. Their times are coming down. There's talk now that if you want to be a serious contender in the men's Olympics, it could be under 6.5 perhaps, maybe even faster, 6.2.
Yeah, we really see. I mean, the litmus test we saw this past season was at the Innsbruck Combined World Championships, just seeing the times for the men's and women's combined final. So I think that time will drop significantly, especially with this season and the upcoming one. But we'll really see how that'll change, especially with speed specialists branching off into the other two disciplines, and of course bouldering lead specialists trying out speed.
Okay, for now it's all about speed specialists. Bassem Marwem on the left, Alexander Shikov on the right. Both got blisteringly quick starts. Both are clean, and it's Marwem who takes it, 5.76. That was an incredibly close race. Shikov actually missed the timing pad and had to go a second time. Let's see it at the top. Bassem Marwem being made to work incredibly hard to make it through. Let's see where the stumble was. It was literally the last move for the timing pad. I think that's how it looked in real time, how it looked from that angle.
Yeah, that was an incredibly close race. Both athletes are really pushing as fast as they could go. But again, like, it really shows the level of competition here is just so incredibly high. You have to be at the top of your game to be able to hit, again, under 6 seconds for the men, under 8 seconds for the women. It's just going to be so close the last couple of races here to see who's going to be able to take this first World Cup title of 2019.
Well, we had Sazanti Raheu against Jobert in the women's, and we've got two big hitters in the men's quarterfinal. One of them has to leave at this stage. Reza Aliposhena, closest to the camera. He'll be climbing on the left as we look at it, and Aspar Jayalolo on the right there in the B lane. Massive difference in build between the two. Amazing that despite that they can be pretty much the same speed on a speed ball, but only one of them can be quicker today, only one of them can progress. Jayalolo not quick in the previous round, little stumble for him, but we know he's capable of much more. And Reza got an awful start, and Jayalolo should just bring this one home. He actually slowed down in the middle as if he didn't think he needed to rush, and I think caught a glimpse of Reza Aliposhena Zandifar closing in close on him and thought, I better get a move on. Massive stumble from Reza. I don't want to make excuses for anyone, but I have to say the spotlight here is not moving at the same speed as the climbers. Am I dreaming?
Yeah, so the thing with speed climbing is, again, the wall in theory should be exactly the same all over the world. In reality, there's minute differences for each of the speed climbing walls, each of the different environments, the humidity, you know, how recently these holes were cleaned, where the spotlight is. There's all sorts of incredibly small, minute details that go a long way into figuring out, again, who's going to win any speed race on a given day.
I mean, I'll try and have a word with Reza later, but it seemed to me that he either got left behind by the spotlight or maybe.
I think he missed his first foothold. But one of the things to look out for, again, is that throughout the rounds and as the competition progresses, these holds get worse and worse. The conditions continue to get worse. So, you know, we hopefully don't see any more slips, but it's just something that'll happen as time goes on.
Cao Long now on the left, taking on Dmitry Timofeev, the veteran, the legend, against the young pretender, and it's going to be the young pretender who takes it. Cao not making life easy for himself. 9.39 sees him through, but perhaps a sign of inexperience there. Instead of just bringing it home, stopped to look what was going on with his rival, and then had a big stumble himself. Just needs to keep his eye on the prize, but does enough. Shame for Timofeev. This was that was a quick glimpse earlier on of Annik Jobert.
Yeah, incredible run from, again, both athletes. The unfortunate part, again, is now that we're advancing through the rounds, again, with the amount of humidity, with the amount of athletes that are climbing on this wall at such a high frequency, these holds and these feet are actually just getting worse as we continue on. And with that, we're seeing a lot more slips throughout the competition, especially when the pressure gets higher and higher. But again, you know, we want the best for all these athletes. We hope that they have super clean runs and the fastest person wins, but that's the game of speed climbing. You never know what's going to happen.
Sergei Rukin now taking on Vladislav Dolin, two Russians. Dolin crouching right down and firing up onto the lower holds, but Rukin got a marginally better start, but was slow through the middle, and it's Dolin who takes it, 5.86.
Yeah, this has been really, really interesting matchups. The last 4 races in a row, we've had not necessarily upsets, but one person seemingly in the lead and then quick lead change other person wins. So one of the most important things about speed climbing, period, is when you are on the speed wall, the only thing you should be focusing on is making sure you get a time. So as we've seen, like, you could have slips, you could have stumbles, but as long as you stay on that wall, get a time, you could advance. That's the nature of this game. All that matters right now is that you are the fastest person on that wall.
So that is the final four on the women's side. Yulia Kaplina, Yiling Song, Anouk Jobert and Anna Tsiganova. Just to point out, Kaplina and Jobert have ended up on opposite sides of the draw. They often qualified first and second and then ended up racing in the big final. This time they didn't qualify first and second, but they could still meet in that big final. I'm just putting it out there. Basamawem, Aspajer, Lolo, Long Kao and Vladislav Dolin, the final four for the men.
Yeah, it's been pretty incredible races so far this evening, but again, we only are just starting. This is the final four for both men's and women's competition, and this is where the action really starts. So this upcoming round, we're going to see people, if you make it on, you're guaranteed a medal. If you don't, then you're racing for that bronze medal position. So this is the semifinal race for both men's and women's, and we're really going to see times get either really fast or we're going to see some people trying to push it a little bit too far, and it'll be interesting to see how it comes down.
So the athletes now get presented again to the crowd. Anouk Jobert, little wave as she is introduced. Exceptionally good at getting her game face on. She gave her opponent a hug in one of the earlier rounds, smiled, waved to the crowd, came off and was stood about 2 or 3 meters away from us and looked absolutely in the zone. Really seems to be able to switch it on when required, as does this man, Basa Marwem. There's Aspar Jayalolo, Lonkau and Vladislav Dolin. So Russia in with a pretty good shot of a medal. They got 3 of the 8 semi-finalists.
Yeah,
but no guarantees.
Russia's looking really good in this matchup right now, but one of the things to point out is that of all these athletes, everyone here has an incredible amount of experience, with the exceptions both being the Chinese athletes. Both Chinese athletes are relatively young. Yiling Song and Cao Long, both under 20 years old, and both athletes, again, they made it through to this final four, which, you know, with speed climbing elimination, favors the more experienced competitor. So they're kind of the upstart, you know, new kids on the block, I should say. And it's really exciting to see China, and especially these specialists from China at such a young age, really be disruptors in this competition and make it all the way to the final four. You know, hopefully we'll see them perform at a really high level, and maybe we'll see some win the medals.
We shall see. Certainly some very interesting looking semi-finals. So it'll be the women first, as it has been all day. First race will be Yulia Kaplina against Yiling Song. Not much to separate them so far in terms of times. Kaplina 7, this is starting with the qualifiers, then into the round of 16, then the quarterfinals. Kaplina 7.464, 7.72, 7.56, and Song 7.88, 7.66, 7.72. So, yeah, not much to pull them apart so far. And the Russians gone all out on the graphics.
Yeah, this is pretty exciting. Well, as we see here, the Russian space program is something that they take great pride in. I actually got to go to the Russian Museum of the Cosmonauts yesterday. That was really cool.
I bet that was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They had a bunch of models of old space exploration rockets. They had the models of the 2 dogs they sent into space at the very beginning of their space exploration days. They had, let's see, a couple other cosmonaut history relics, and of course Sputnik, model of Sputnik in there. It's cool.
If you ever get the chance to visit this city, it's a fabulous place, Moscow. For now, though, all eyes are on the CSKA arena in the Dynamo area of Moscow. Yulia Kaplina now, no doubt who the crowd are supporting. You hear that cheer as her name is announced. She takes on Yiling Song. As I said, not much to separate them in terms of time so far this evening or this afternoon in the qualifying round.
Yeah, so again, watch out for that Tomoa skip on the right with Yiling Song. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out through the race.
Both athletes rock back and both athletes got a clean start, but Kaplina stumbled very early on, and if she wants to make the big final in her home country, she will have to work for it. She misses out by 1/100th of a second.
Wow, that was
incredible.
A close race.
7.43 for Song sees her through.
Yeah, just incredible. So again, with the pressure being so high in the semifinal race, these athletes are trying to go all out, and they had some small slips at the very beginning of the wall, but both are so experienced at this point that they know they need to get to the top in whatever way possible. So at that point, they both just realized that they had to kind of revert to plan B, make sure that they're getting back on track, accelerating as fast as possible with those mistakes, and again, anything can happen. So as long as they're able to get to the top of the wall, make sure they got that time, that was incredibly close, but Yiling Song just making it into the big final here.
So Anouk Jobert now on the left. Will she be aware of what's just happened? Will she be aware that if she was to win this race, she would be taking on Yiling Song, not her great rival Yulia Kaplina? We shall see. No point worrying about that. She's got Anna Tsiganova to beat first, and that is no mean feat. So Jobert on the left, Tsiganova on the right, and Tsiganova definitely got away quicker, but then had a big stumble, had to swap her feet twice. Now it's Jobert stumbling, and now it's Tsiganova falling. So Jobert through with an 8.36. Not her cleanest race by any means, but she found a way. Tsiganova, quite a significant stumble lower down, and then a complete fall at mid-height. There we see her go. So no time for her. But she will have a chance at winning the bronze medal in the small final. But it's Jobert who progresses to the big final.
And again, Jobert, no surprises there. She is, again, one of the most consistent competitors on the World Cup circuit, male or female. So again, her being back in the big final, not necessarily a surprise, but great to see her have a clean-ish run, get to the top first. But again, with this competition that we're seeing, there's a compounding two different factors coming into this. One is that the stakes are getting higher as the rounds progress, but again, the conditions are getting worse as the rounds progress as well. So the opportunity to have a clean run is diminishing very, very quickly. So at this point, it's about minimizing the mistakes, making sure that you're not making, if you do make a mistake, being able to recover from it as fast as you possibly can. And that's what's been the difference between most of these athletes here tonight.
Yeah, speaking of mistakes, Aspar Joelolo, 6.76 and 6.61 in the previous two rounds. Nothing like a clean run. He's capable of going over a second quicker than both of those times. So he hasn't had anything like a clean shot at it yet. So what can he do against a man who so far has been absolutely faultless here in Moscow? Bassem Awem, he's on the left. Joelolo's on the right, and they're both going well, but then Joelolo stumbles again in the middle section, and Bassem Awem will bring this home in 5.65. Joelolo, really strange one for him. Every run he did here in Moscow had a slip or some sort of problem.
Yeah, well, again, with this, the new beta that people are coming up with, Tomoa skip at the bottom, again, it's maybe takes a little bit of time to get used to it, so maybe that's what we're seeing for some of these athletes who have changed up their beta in the past year. Aspar is being one person in particular that has changed his beta, and along with many other people. So it'll be interesting to see, again, with the final coming up, how many people can have a clean run, make sure they get to the top, and not let the pressure and the worsening conditions get to them.
So Cao Long closest to our camera. He'll be on the left there. He's taking on Vladislav Dolin. This really is the legend against the upcomer. Dolin, 2017 season champion. He'll be taking on Cao Long.
And you can see at the very beginning, very different approach to the starting positions.
Yeah, Cao facing straight on, but absolutely flew out of the blocks. And he's fast through the middle section as well, but a big stumble is going to cost him. Dolin will go through in 5.91.
Yeah, Dolin is, you can tell, very excited about that result. He, one of the big crowd favorites here in Moscow. He's definitely one of the top athletes in speed climbing, has won multiple World Cups before. Really excited to see him for the final two, and you can see it on his face. He's excited too.
He certainly is. Lovely sportsmanship there. I've got to say, Long Cao looks absolutely blistering in the lower section. He had a big stumble, but I think he was in the lead when he fell. Absolutely,
yeah. He has one of the quickest starts off the blocks I've seen from any competitor. One of the interesting things that he does is that when he gets to the starting position, he starts himself on the far left side of that first hold, which is interesting because at the beginning of the wall, the climb transitions towards the left, And one of the things that you really want to do in speed climbing is minimize lateral movement, so side-to-side movement, and maximize vertical movement, so up and down. And what he does better than almost anyone I've seen in speed climbing is he's able to just keep his body in a perfectly straight line through the beginning section, which is incredibly difficult to do because, again, the holds move very, very much in an upward diagonal path, and he's able to keep his body almost perfectly vertical to that section, which I've barely seen anyone else even come close to that level of technical prowess.
Yeah, he is not a flash in the pan. He did not have a flukish day. He is blisteringly quick. It's going to be interesting to see how his season unfolds. For now, though, the small final here in Moscow. This is the first medal to be decided of the speed climbing season in 2019. It's Yulia Koplina taking on Anna Tsiganova. So Russia is going to claim a bronze, but who's going to take it? Koplina is on the left. Tsiganova's on the right. Koplina seems to get the fastest start, but Tsiganova's more than reeled her in, and this is a very tight small final, or it was until Tsiganova fell. Yulia Koplina takes it in 8.23. Bronze medal for her. Not the colour she would have liked in her home country. Just as she spins around now, trying to gauge her reaction. Satisfied, but not delighted, would be my summary.
Sure. And again, as someone who currently holds the world record, both these athletes have been at the top of their game before, with Anna Tsiganova becoming world champion. And again, with this competition, again, it's all about minimizing mistakes. So you can make mistakes, especially in the speed elimination round with the conditionings getting worse, as well as the times getting faster and more pressure added. But again, it's all about making sure that if you do make a mistake, you're recovering from it as fast as you possibly can.
So it says something that Aspar Jayalolo is the veteran of this race. He still seems like he's in the process of exploding onto the scene. But this is Long Cao's first ever World Cup. Can he bring home a bronze medal? Jayalolo on the left, Cao on the right. And again, we see that blistering start we've just discussed. Jayalolo has got work to do, but a slip from Cao will cost him. And Jayalolo will take it in 6.08. Bronze medal for him. Bronze medal for Indonesia, and he looks pretty happy with it.
Aspar is definitely really excited to have that result after the first competition. Again, with this kind of pressure for the bronze medal match, it's you win a bronze medal, you get to stand on that podium, fourth place. Unfortunately, not as much glory. So Cao Long, he's an incredibly talented athlete. He's one of the fastest people out there, and I think we're going to start seeing some excellent results from him. He's going to be one of the people pushing that world record pace. But again, with this style of competition, experience comes into play a lot more than you'd think. And Aspar Jayalolo really showing his experience here in Moscow.
So the gold medal in the women's competition about to be decided. Yiling Song on the left is taking on the legend Anouk Jobert. Jobert not looked super clean really in any of the rounds so far, but we know what she is capable of. One of the true greats of speed climbing. She's taking on Yiling Song, closest to the camera of China. And it was Song who got the fastest start, and Jobert having to really work hard through this middle section. This one is going to be tight, but it looks like Song who's got the lead, and it's Song who takes it, 7.38. She has won the World Cup here in Moscow.
That was incredible. She had an absolutely phenomenal race. It looks like she can't believe it either. Anouk Jobert, again, really great run from her. Unfortunately, wasn't able to repeat the gold medal here in Moscow. But incredible run from Yiling Song. She's one of the up-and-coming future stars of this sport, and she's showing it right here.
Lovely sportsmanship there from Jobert to congratulate her. She's had plenty of glory in her time, and nothing to be ashamed of in a silver medal here in Moscow. But Song was quick all the way through there. She took the lead early on, and if anything, extended it as the race went by.
Absolutely. And she looked very technically sound throughout all of that race, able to get to the top, have a little bit of a cushion so she could make sure she got that final foot placement correctly. And after she hit that buzzer, you could tell she was excited.
Okay, so Basset Marwem, closest to our camera. He'll be on the left against Vladislav Dolin. This for the gold medal. Marwem on the left, Dolin on the right. Silence descends in Moscow. Silence has ended now. Both climbers underway, and Basset absolutely flying, and he's going to take this one in a very quick time, 5.73. Fall from Dolin sadly ended the drama somewhat prematurely, but it's Bassam Awem who takes it. He's looked quick all day. He was quickest in the qualifiers, and he is the winner here in Moscow.
Yeah, what an incredible race from Bassa. He has really proven why he was the overall World Cup champion in 2018, showing it once again here in Moscow. He is the gold medalist here tonight. And of course, in second place, Vladislav Dulin, also an incredible set of races from him.
So we're going to have a flower ceremony. It's effectively a small version of the podium where we can congratulate the athletes in just a second.
So interestingly enough, what we saw here from the contrast of the men's and women's competitions, that in the top four, from the men's side, Bassam Awem absolutely came out, dominated. He is showing why the experience really paid off. He is one of the older competitors here at 36 years old, but just showing how dominant he is in these races. But then again, on the women's side, we saw the up-and-coming youngster, Yiling Song, showing how bright and talented the future of climbing is. So it was really cool to see the contrast between both sets of competitors, one being ultra experienced and one of the others being young, up-and-coming, super talented, and able to show it here in the first World Cup of 2019.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time to start flowers award ceremony of the IFSC Climbing World Cup Moscow 2019. And I'm happy to welcome here fastest climbers of this competition. Third place, bronze medal, goes to representative of Russia, Yulia Kaplina. Applause! I want to stand with you. Place and silver medal goes to representative of France, Anok Jabel. And the first place, golden medal goes to representative of China, Yiling Song.
Josh, I am going to go down to do some live interviews. I'm sorry to leave you all on your lonesome. We're in a very exposed position here on the stage with two big lights on us. And I'm sorry to leave you on your own, but I've got to go down and chat to the winners. I will be back shortly.
Sounds good.
And now we're really glad to welcome men. Third place, bronze medal goes to representative of Indonesia, Ailo. Давайте поддержим громче. The second place and silver medal goes to representative of Russia, Vladislav Dulin. And the first place and golden medal goes to representative of France, Bassam Awem.
Hope you've been enjoying this flower presentation of the athletes. Again, we had incredible runs from all athletes tonight through the speed climbing rounds. Coming out on top, we had Bassam Awem of France for the men and Yiling Song of China for the women. In just a moment, we're going to go live interview with Charlie Busco. He'll be interviewing one or more of the athletes. But again, with this speed climbing competition, it was the first climbing competition we had for the speed discipline of 2019. There will be many more competitions coming up throughout the rest of the season, so this is just their first glimpse of the action. And it's great to see some of the top names battling it out for that spot on that podium. Right now you can see on your screen on the far right-hand side the men's podium. We have Bassam Awem of France taking first, Vladislav Dulin of Russia in second, Aspar Jalil of Indonesia placing in third. All extraordinarily talented athletes, and again what we're seeing is the experience coming through big time for Bassam Awem. He had 4 incredibly consistent runs, all under 6 seconds, which with elimination style speed climbing is the most important thing, being consistent throughout all of your races. It's not necessarily about being the absolute fastest world record breaking competitor, but being consistent throughout those races really makes a big difference. Up on your screen now we have the women's results. First place again, Yiling Song of China, extraordinarily talented young competitor. Second place, Anouk Jaubert of France. She was the winner here in Moscow last year and has been extraordinarily consistent throughout her career. And third, Yulia Kaplina. Interestingly enough, we had Anouk Jaubert and Yulia Kaplina racing for the gold medal here 1 year ago in Moscow, with Anouk Jaubert coming out in first. But both of those women jointly hold the current world record of 7.32 seconds, I believe. And so it'll be really curious to see just how quick these upcoming young athletes from all over the world are going to be pushing to see who can be the next world record holder here for the 2019 World Cup season. And we're coming down live to Charlie. He's going to be doing an interview here. Take it over, Charlie.
That is the perfect start to the season.
Oui, c'est vraiment une saison, un début de saison parfait. Voilà, il n'y a pas longtemps, j'ai fait un sélectif où je faisais à peu près les mêmes temps. Il y a une semaine, il y avait le championnat de France et je faisais aussi à peu près les mêmes temps. Et aujourd'hui, je répète ça et ça me permet de gagner, donc je suis hyper content.
He said, yes, it was a perfect start to the season. It was only a week ago, the championships in France, and now he's won here in Moscow. And what are your hopes and expectation for the season?
Désolé pour mon anglais. Bon, je suis vraiment, dans tous les cas, je suis vraiment content d'être ici. C'est la troisième fois que je pouvais participer à cette compétition. Je l'ai loupé 2 fois pour des raisons personnelles. Aujourd'hui, je viens, je gagne et voilà, donc c'est cool pour moi, quoi.
Okay, he's absolutely delighted, and yeah, he's apologising for his English. Okay, congratulations.
Merci beaucoup à tous. Et merci.
Thank you.
On préparera la prochaine fois. La prochaine fois, on la prépare.
Thank you again, once again, for tuning in to this live broadcast of the IFSC World Cup in Moscow. We just concluded the speed competition, and the rest of the weekend will be focused on bouldering, starting with the men's and women's qualification tomorrow morning. So don't miss it. It'll be the semifinals and finals will be broadcast live on the IFSC YouTube channel. Again, this has been Josh Levin and Charlie Bosco signing off from Moscow.